everyone. Today we're talking about the 3 intelligence centers or triads in the Enneagram of personality, namely the thinking triad, the feeling triad, and the instinctive triad. And what are some of the lessons? What are some of the pieces of wisdom that everybody, all of us, could get by looking at the common themes in all of these 3 triads? So all about that in the next few minutes. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. So, speaking of the thinking triad, in the thinking triad, we have 3 Enneagram types. You probably know this. We have types 5, 6, and 7, the investigator, the loyalist, and the enthusiast. All of these 3 types are deeply concerned with themes around safety or security and fear or anxiety. So all of these 3 types have a deep belief that in some way or another, they are not really supported. They are missing safety, they are missing security. They cannot really rely on their inner guidance or their inner wisdom. So they're constantly trying to find that security in some way or another using different types of strategies that are specific to their own type. Because deep down, beyond all of their ego defenses, there's a lot of anxiety. Now, what can we learn from the thinking triad? I think one of the main lessons that stands out when we really zoom out is that when we are overly caught up in our minds, into the rational side of things, when we are really trying to overly analyze things, process things, understand things, make sense of the world in a rational way, using logic, using facts, using mental processing, using mental understanding of things, using skepticism. This is a wonderful quality to have. However, being overly caught up in this space, in these types of mental processes, in this type of energy, makes us have a really busy mind. We have this inner chatterbox where we are constantly hearing all these thoughts about this and that. You should do this, you should do that, you should focus on this, you should focus on that, what about this, what about that? And all this inner chatter is causing people, especially those with a very strong tendency towards the thinking triad. So for example, someone who has a core Enneagram 5 or 6 or 7 will experience this a lot, but also everyone, because we all have a component of that in our tri-type or sometimes our wing as well. So when we are overly caught up in these themes, we are also overwhelmed by the amount of noise that our mind makes, the amount of drama that our mind makes, all the questions, all the comments, all the words, everything we hear in our minds. And of course, we feel like we have no guidance and support because we are only trying to find that guidance and support in, let's say, more superficial things. I'm not saying that these things are bad, because sometimes a great relationship with somebody can help you with your feeling of safety and security. Or connecting with a community that you find to be safe can also help you the feeling of safety and security, or whatever that might mean for you. However, this will never be enough, no matter how great your relationships are, no matter how amazing your community is. If you yourself cannot connect to your own feeling of safety and security, of inner guidance, you will never feel truly safe. So this is a really important lesson. We need to detach ourselves from that inner chatterbox of the mind, from that noise, in order to connect with that feeling of inner guidance and support. Now, how do we do that? There are multiple strategies. Mindfulness and meditation practices done on a regular basis and in a way that fits us are great tools for doing that. Embodiment practices that takes us out of the mind and more aligned with our bodies, with the present world. Coaching, therapy, other ways of engaging with ourselves and seeing what's really happening there. How can we really bring ourselves to the present moment? Number 2, the feeling triad. Here we have types 2, 3, and 4. So the helper, the achiever, and the individualist or the romantic. So what do these types have in common? Again, like I mentioned for the thinking triad, even though these 3 types have different strategy, the main theme is that they're all trying to focus too much on their identity. They are trying to pretend or to create an image for themselves that will provide them with the love, with the appreciation, with the validation from other people. And why? Because deep down, under all of the ego defenses, there's a lot of shame. Shame that these types are trying to suppress. So when we are overly focused on creating a self, I would even say a false self, that other people will like and appreciate and love and seem to want, we will somehow disconnect from who we truly are. We will start, focusing on other characteristics or other behaviors that we think will be socially acceptable. Again, this is not a bad thing per se, because it is good to want to connect with other people. It is good to try to develop certain skills and certain positive pro-social behaviors so that we better relate with others. It's great to want to work, for example, on your communication skills or your conflict management skills so that you can better interact with people in your life. But if you are overly focused on that, and that's all that matters, even if people validate that image that you're creating, even if people seem to give you love and appreciation for that self that you're projecting, that mask, that persona, you will not really feel loved and appreciated deep down. Because you're not showing them who you really are. You're not showing up as your true self. So even if they love the image that you're projecting, you yourself will know deep down that that's not who you truly are. It's a very small part of who you are, or maybe it's not even who you are. And why is that? Because this is the main lesson from the feeling center or the feeling triad. Our heart, the authenticity of our deepest self, is what creates that identity. The feelings that we experience, the emotional content, the values that we have, our true values, our true feelings, our true emotional impressions of the world, they are much closer to who we really are than this false self. So only when we allow ourselves to feel those feelings and to embody those values can we actually show that true self to the world, and can we actually feel loved and wanted and valuable. Otherwise, we're just lying to ourselves. It's not about other people, it's only about how we lie to ourselves. Okay, and now moving on to the last triad, we have the gut triad or the instinctive triad. Here we have types 8, 9, and 1, the challenger, the peacemaker, the perfectionist, or the reformer. All of these three types, as a common theme, are concerned with their desire to affect the world without being affected by it. And they all have some sort of ego boundaries that they put into place, either with respect to the outside world, like type 8 does, or with respect to the or towards the inner world, like type 1 does, or to both, like type 9 does, because their deepest desire is really to stay in control, to have autonomy. Because deep down, under all of these pretenses, under all of these, trying to blah, 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 lies a deep rage or a deep anger that they more or less try to suppress or maybe deal with. And why is anger connected to the gut, to the instinctive part, to the body? Because anger, I feel, is a very physical type of energy, more so than shame, more so than anxiety. Anxiety is all about the mind, shame is a lot about the heart, but rage, anger has so much to do with the physical world, with the gut. It's much more instinctual. So what can we learn from the instinctive triad, whether we have a core type here or whether we just have it as a type in our tri-type or as our wing? Because as humans, we all have influences from all of these three triads. The main lesson from the gut triad is that the connection that we have to our physical self, to the material world, to our bodies, is also a sacred one. Our bodies are so wise and they are so sensitive and they know so much, they can feel so much. I was reading in The Wisdom of the Enneagram book by Rizzo and Hudson that there are some stories that the Australian Aboriginal community, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, they had this deep belief that the body could really store information and connect us to our intuition. And there was a story that one of these people could feel pain in their body when someone that they loved died or something bad happened to them, even though they did not really have this information yet. Of course, we don't fully know if that's true or not, but the idea is that there is a lot of wisdom that our body is able to give us. And connecting to it and connecting to that rather than repressing it and fighting it is really important. The same way as we connect to our heart and our feelings, it's really important to also connect to the physical body. Practices like yoga, like Pilates, like any kind of sports, also meditation, like I mentioned earlier, and mindfulness practices, they're all fantastic ways to come back into the body and be present. So this video was aimed to just give you an overview of how the Enneagram has so much wisdom to provide us with. Even if you're confused about your type, even if you're not yet sure what your dominant type is, there's still something to learn. And I'm sure that if you spend enough time introspecting and connecting to yourself, you will find some of these reflections happen inside of you with respect to all three triads. Okay, so these were my thoughts on the three Enneagram triads, the intelligence centers, and what we can learn from all of them. I hope this was useful to you. I hope you can take some of this information and process it and apply it in your own life. I also wanted to mention that for those of you who are interested, I offer self-awareness coaching sessions to support people in creating a life on their own terms. I am an International Coaching Federation accredited coach with a background in psychology and psychodrama, so I would be very happy to have a conversation with you in case you believe this is something you're looking for. There's a link in the description below. You can access my website, read a little bit more, see if it resonates with you, and then feel free to reach out to me. Also, I have a newsletter where about 2 times per month I send articles with respect to typology, psychology, and any other reflections that I have around these topics. So if you're interested in that, of course, it's free. You can sign up also using the link in the description below. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being with me, and see you next time with another video on typology.